Alex Ansary here. It is the afternoon, early morning of August 23rd in the year 2017. I don't have all the solutions, but I certainly have a lot of off-the-cuff commentary on relationships in today's modern technological age. So I'm going to bounce around, cover a number of different things. The point of these videos is to help others that are also perceiving reality a little bit differently than say their family members. There are other reasons why there are a lot of major relationship problems that are taking place. And we also go through cycles. I think that there are cycles in which it seems that the times are more romantic, and then there are other periods in which it seems like these are the most unromantic times to be alive. And there's other periods in which we can see the influence of the mass media, and not just the media, but the internet and fads such as what we're seeing now. With the internet, we're seeing the ability for technology to influence a mass of people in a short amount of time, whether it be news or other things, to take them away from what is local and what is natural and what is around them to this global circus and the chaos that's involved with all of that. It's imprinted itself subconsciously, all this trauma, on human consciousness. So it's added to that fracturing of human consciousness. In today's day and age, today's man and today's woman has a long, long laundry list, if you will, of problems with the opposite sex, because it's how we've been programmed to look at each other. Society reflects this consciousness closely when we see people gathering over those people or politicians that they dislike. And then we see the behavior in supposed civil society today. They're gathering over the people that they don't like. When we look at some of the feminist authors as well as MGTOW, we are hearing what they don't like about the opposite sex. But what about the beauty of each other and the beauty of individual thought and the appreciation and the gratitude for those men and women of our society that are not like the rest? And how often do we take the time to appreciate that? And I appreciate those people that have found this channel and those that have been watching these videos over the years. And it definitely feels like a very unique time in which I could share these videos with you while the technology still exists. I think that there is still some more time, and that I should use this medium to the fullest. And to do that, we need to talk about relationships. And perhaps I can bring up certain experiences. What should I bring to the table today with regards to relationship and things of that nature, things that I've learned? I can tell you that in my own mind, when I think about my first love, for example, or the person that I desired the most, I certainly realize why I desired her so strongly and why the rejection was so painful to me. Taking you back to the year 2006, 2007, and at the time, she was someone that was helping me with some of the first years of Outside the Box TV. And because of certain things regarding my childhood in a sense of abandonment, there was a part of me that was trying to heal that wound through someone else. As I grew older in my adulthood and years passed since that heartbreak, and hearing words such as, "Alex, you're hard to love," which seemed to activate a childhood trauma, reliving the abandonment experience, feeling hard to love, feeling misunderstood. And this type of repeat behavior would continue throughout my adulthood. Meeting women in Portland, where I was hosting a cable access TV show for many years, it seemed that there was a period in which people were not throwing themselves at me, but interested in hooking up. And it was in the 2009, 2010 period. And that was a period in which I was certainly wanting to find someone else to distract me from her. And that sense of heartbreak. After all, I'm in a city, I'm a single man, I'm putting out information, I'm in my younger years, and I kept coming across, whether we create these experiences for ourselves, or whether we're cursed, whether it's just bad luck, whether it's just the sign of the times, all areas of speculation as to why. A little bit of everything changes, perhaps, the root cause why we come across repeat challenges and people with similar programming and games. And you see, a man with feelings, just like a woman with feelings and emotion, can be pulled in to have strong feelings for the person that they're having intercourse with. And the other person, even if it's a female, could be completely devoid of intimate feelings towards the other and a desire to be closer on a friend level, not just a physical level. And in today's day and age, that's one of the things that I experienced, and that's one of the things that's still going on in today's society. I look at things from different perspectives. I try to, not just negative, not just positive. So it is not an entirely negative thing for someone to pull back from society's promiscuous nature, society's superficial nature, whether you're a male, whether you're a female, to step back and work on yourself. And it doesn't mean that you're or I am going to be single forever. It means we're working on ourselves and we're not letting ourselves be distracted by our body sensations and temptations. I think it's more challenging for younger men than some older men. And when you get older and the body starts changing a little bit, testosterone decreases a certain amount per year, there's less, what's the word I'm looking for? But the biological imperative to be out on the hunt and, to seek to get laid all the time. It's something that runs strong throughout the biology to continue a certain population. There's interesting places we can speculate as to what we're doing here as souls in these bodies that have these unique forms of procreative programs. And that's a mouthful, and that can be modified. And I'm already going outside the box of what this was intended to be. But yeah, I do have a larger lens perspective on this whole ordeal. But you know what? That's what helps me keep it together and understand it's natural for those of us that are on this path of self-awareness, self-discovery. And for me, I put out information that others receive, which is already in and of itself a unique path. The combination of topics on this channel, you'll notice, fairly unique. And in a positive sense, I take pride in what makes Alex Ansary unique, original, and authentic. Investing in my soul, not this home with a certain amount of value, if you will, in the suburbs or in the city, living here actually off the grid, seeking to have a deeper relationship with myself, spirit, the creator, and I would even say some of you, and thinking about videos that I think can help you. You think I enjoy the idea of talking 24/7 about certain potential future realities, buzzwords in this Orwellian world? But the good news is I'm not limited on YouTube. My creativity is not limited to those particular topics. In fact, I desire to talk about issues that relate to the soul. And relationships is very close to the discussion of the soul. Because we as souls are in these human bodies to work out these broken relationships. Truly. And I don't get deep and tell you how to believe. But I also say, hey, I can't stop my own truth when it's coming. And I try to speak off the cuff. Okay, so I don't think that we live once, and I don't think that we're alone in the universe. And we are here as souls in this biological, spiritual petri dish, here to work out stuff as generic and cliche as that sounds. But it really makes a lot of sense to me. It also is interesting to see, because I believe I've lived before in other continents, in particular Europe. And I think that there's a number of other people that have talked about some of the different places where I've lived that have brought up this continent. And living as a white man in Europe that was talking about things of a similar nature hundreds of years ago in the Dark Ages. And going through a sense of persecution then. I find it interesting that I've become friends with people like Daryl Carter. And he was talking about the Cathars. And I've had kind of this leaning towards Gnosticism. I bring this up because we have a certain, as souls, relationship with the world, if you will, with aspects of society in this world. If we are truth-telling or going against the grain. And what I believe that I'm doing now, not the first time that I've done it. And it may not be the last time that this soul will be engaged in such activity. But one can end up isolated from relationships. But is that healthy or unhealthy? It is healthy if they're stepping back from unhealthy relationships. If I'm stepping back from unhealthy relationships, vampire relationships. Back to talking about those different women that were coming around in 2008, 2009, 2010. Those were during periods in which I was trying to move forward dramatically. And I understand the biological, it's natural. Be attracted to the person who's up and coming and being successful. There's also an energy vampire element of that. When people come around because, whether they're aware of it or not, they want to feed off your energy. And if there's a lot of people focused on Alex Ansary, thousands each week during a period, right, there's something about distracting Alex's energy that can be attractive, I think, to the energy vampire. And looking back at my life and stepping back from Portland, people that have tried to distract my energy, there's a lot of that in my past. But since I've become aware of that and the need to develop some boundaries and step back from unhealthy relationships, not allow myself to end up in traps. What kind of traps can someone end up in? For someone like me, who's a public person, who puts out videos, right? But just putting yourself out there to where anybody can access you and sabotage what you're doing. Or worse. And I would say that I've lived most of my life like that. Very open, meeting total strangers, male and female, all with the intended purpose of finding higher consciousness within another aspect of mankind, another sparkle of light, if you will, like myself, and have that completely platonic as well. I have met just dozens and dozens and dozens of women over coffee in urban areas, and I've talked for hours and hours and hours about what it is that I believe. And I've literally had some of these people on the edge of their chair with interest to also turning them off by giving them really access to what's inside my mind, or making them angry by sharing with them belief systems that they don't agree with and don't want to be friends with someone who has those belief systems, understandings, views, perspectives on this nature of reality. Been through it all. But I knew each and every moment in which I was sharing that information, that I was sharing with those women exactly what they need to hear at that moment. And it was more important for me to see myself as a brother to them than a guy trying to take off their clothing for a little act of primalism. And see, being aware of what was most important in the moment of sharing that information with a non-attachment to the outcome, that person would have a physical interest in me, that was very important. Because with some of those souls that I interacted with and met with, it wasn't about Alex getting his. It was about them getting theirs. The information. And that doesn't mean that I have all the answers. I have seen information come to me through people, through women and men, men and women, different ages, stripes, different racial backgrounds, ethnicities, religious or spiritual leanings. And I take those as very important signs that information is everywhere and God speaks through people. So the relationships in our world are very, very important. Speaking to the issue of what we're seeing, the footage, the moving images of the people in the streets. Whoa! Pepper spray. Things of that nature. Very sad to see. But that is in reflection to something else. So, you know what? It's healthy for people to step back away from healthy relationships. Unhealthy cities full of people having a concentration of unhealthy relationships, i.e. going off the grid, because it's far deeper than going off the grid and being afraid of doomsday, thus prepping. Move that around a little bit. Trick the YouTube matrix bots. Put a little effort into it today. Looking at my results the next day. The flag videos versus the videos that are deemed safe and thus considered worthy of advertiser support. Oh man, it's interesting though, just a side note, relationships, huh? The relationships some people have developed online, the YouTubers, right, that have been putting out fake news. Oh yeah, they've developed a relationship with people that want to be told what they want to be told. So even with the ad situation, they're going to get the support. Or they can just get the support eventually, again, from the advertisers, when the advertisers see, oh, well, that channel has a lot of subscribers. Yeah, there's a lot of, oh, yeah, we'll make an exception for this one. As far as myself, I have faith in my ability to continue doing what I'm doing full-time, to really move my consciousness and energy now, like I am today, this afternoon, fully into the position without hesitation, without doubt. Maybe there's a little bit of clarity after this eclipse, not really sure. Many of you have found your way to this channel because you're looking for information that can help you in some way, shape, or form. And I'm looking at the information I'm sharing going, is this helping? Or what needs to be brought back to the table that perhaps I haven't talked about for a number of years? While staying away from topics that I think are just oversaturated. But I'm going to touch on what's happening in America. I'm going to use the on-demand channel to talk about things that obviously are not safe to upload to YouTube. But here on YouTube, I'm going to put out information regarding relationships on a fairly irregular basis, right? But when the moment feels right, and that's going to be the case with all different types of videos. When the moment feels right to have that relationship with you and share that information with you, because most of the people, when they watch a video, when they see a video, most of those views are usually coming around the time that it's uploaded. But I'm also thinking about, videos, and it always comes down to relationships and the soul and what we're really doing here, that the people have an interest in. And that's a reflection of people really looking for the answers at an increasing rate, from myself to yourself to others, and seeing the difference between the things that are helping us versus not helping us. On a deeper level, having a relationship with one's self, I would say, is the ability to process through one's life, one's trauma, whether they're able to make sense of it or not. This is a new notebook that I'm working with, and just attempting to develop a deeper relationship with myself to where I'm expressing in words the things that all take time to express here on video. Expressing in a written sense what I do verbally on video. And really what it does is seem to rekindle, if you will, an element of passion for the videos as well. Because just doing videos day after day after day, or on the same topic, brings a certain amount of staleness. And it's like, that's not what I'm into. You know, that's not what I consider exciting. That's not what I consider to be outside the box. That's not what I consider to be cutting edge. Discussing really why things are the way that they are, to the best of my ability, sharing my truth, and there's different truths. Not everybody's truth is the same. But see, we live in a supposed adult world where a lot of us aren't really seeing very adult relationships. And we're not seeing people show signs that we can be programmed and socially engineered to take on certain archetypes and personalities in our relationships, or to be led into certain unhealthy relationships. I've talked about the peer pressure construct as opposed to a genuine spiritual relationship with someone. And there are many humans increasingly today that base their relationships, the people that they love, the people that they love again after one night, the people that they take home to mom, based on the social media or social acceptance construct, which is very important, especially to a lot of women, for their friends to accept their mates. And in today's day and age, with the social engineering, with the racial tensions, they can drive things in both directions. Whether it be someone saying, hey, you know what? I'm not going to take a chance of having a less white baby. And then others may see, right, the things going on, the race baiting, and they may choose to react differently and have a less white baby, simply because they're in reactionary mode. So people are moving in different psychological directions. To generalize on one level, there is a splitting of consciousness, and it's happening on different levels. You can see some people, they want more war. You can look at other people, they're like, they generally are troubled by the expansion of the wars. They're bothered by it. They're bothered by the idea that other humans are being removed off the planet. And others are asking for more of that. We see some people that see the injustices of the state. We see others that are encouraging the state to create more injustices. There are some, right, that want freedom for themselves but not for others. There are others in droves that are horrified that there's an element of the society that doesn't see the hypocrisy of their own ways. And it's not just divided down the line. This group is good. This group is bad. I mean, you can even see in some cases in both groups, in some situations, elements of positive or mindful behavior and negative or violent behavior from both sides. So it's not like I'm saying it's down the line, one group here, Antifa good, Trump supporters bad. It's more complex than that. There's plenty of things that Antifa has done that are absolutely immoral and hypocritical. But with regards to relationships, again, it would make sense why some of you are lonely and you haven't met the right people in your life, or especially in recent years, because there's a split in human consciousness. Some of us are evolving, and others, I'm just giving my opinion, they seem to be moving to a new level of idiocracy. And it does make sense for us to be open and interact with others, to learn and share, as long as it doesn't harm ourselves or others. Now, could someone's energy field and thoughts be harmed by being surrounded by other unconscious humans? They're on a highway to hell? And the answer is yes. At the same time, could some of those people benefit from having good people around them? Picture closed-minded people being introduced to people that, or people that are sheltered, being introduced to other people, and having their horizons broadened with information. It's not just about having the palate broadened with tasty food. And there is a lot of great food out there, thanks to shipping and trade, international trade, the movement of ships. There's just a lot of things that people have in their homes that have come from different places around the world. From books, from food, from furniture, to clothing. People have developed these relationships with physical things. People need to believe in restoring the value in relationships with other people. And that includes people, genetically, from different parts of the world. And that is not multiculturalism. That is not propaganda. That is not propaganda. Unfortunately, we are in a world now where people are being told that positive relationships are a negative thing. That it is a product of them, what them have brought to us. You know, there's a book called Them by John Ronson, and I'm not a fan of individuals that put people in a box that think a certain way. Conspiracy theory. In John Ronson's Them, however, he highlights radical extremists in the East. Got to stay away from those buzzwords. As well as those here in the West. Supremacists of various types, if you will. God, why would these words even be flagged on YouTube if I'm being critical? I'll let you know later in the description if they flag this video too. I mean, that is just... But it shows you that they are against or are allowing a system to be in place where they're punishing people that are against the propaganda, the conditioning, the unconsciousness. It seems like I can't even say the word racism. So he goes and he interviews white supremacist Nazis that are against this multiculturalism, and they're calling that the New World Order. And I've been aware of this book since the beginning, since I got involved in this stuff and researching. Actually went down to a Clyde Lewis get-together. Again, positive relationships with others in the past before all of this mind control of the present moment. And a person asked me if I read John Ronson's Them. And I said no. Again, that day of positive relationship, here I'm going to loan you this book. He was about my age. And the show was at a bar then. It was on 26th and Powell in Southeast Portland. And so, yeah, I think it was a guy named Frank that owned the bar at that time before he changed the name and or sold it. I remember thinking how ignorant it is for people to think that that's the agenda of the control structure, to build positive relationships and see people get along. What they're about is a world where people don't get along, where people kill each other, where people are duped into armies. And now we live in a world, right, where them, they, the real them that does exist, John Ronson, whether you met crazy folks or not, John Ronson and the mainstream media and the left, and a lot of people on the right that think Trump is outside the system, they've forgotten about the real them that's been destabilizing all these relationships and creating all this divide and conquer. And it's very unfortunate, but it needs to be called out. That is not what they want. A world of positive relationships where people are getting along without killing each other, engage in commerce and trade, and especially if people can do it fairly, fair trade. That's not something that they promote. They're into free trade. They're into all these other trade agreements. Oh yeah, they're into cooperation on a certain level when it comes to trade, as long as they control it. And at the same time, we see these preparations for conflicts down the line. It should make sense to people, especially if they become aware of them, that they would want to destabilize our relationships, our friendships, by any means necessary. By any means necessary. And I'll say it again, I've seen race-baiting propaganda on Facebook geared to making women, directed at women, so they will feel guilty, embarrassed, or afraid to be with someone from a certain part of the world. And an anger that's rising. An anger that's rising, that people that haven't been with someone for a while, they are angry when they see what they see as this explosion of multiculturalism. In our Orwellian day and age, where my criticism of hysterias is flagged. But I'm doing this for the greater good. And hopefully more videos like this will be considered safe on YouTube, because I think more videos like this need to be produced on a regular basis. Tell me who in the mainstream media is even getting close to some of these topics. I think about people like Dr. Phil. You know, the people that are on TV, right? Or the people that are like the last people that should be giving relationship advice. What was it? Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. Really? Is that where we're going to start this? We're literally from different planets? No, it's not that we're reading our biology a little bit differently. Let's just... And it's not a slam on John Gray, the author. Not a slam at all. In fact, I've heard that he's put out some really good content over the years. What I can say is, it is refreshing, and it is encouraging to see at the videos that I put out in Portland, Oregon, discussing relationships that they have done so well. It's definitely attracted a lot of people to the channel, new viewers. The particular video that I produced, why don't chase the women of today's day and age? And I want to say by, I guess, developing a closer relationship with strangers on the internet that benefited somewhat from that content and the open-hearted sharing, that seemed to bring a sense of healing to my sense of a broken relationship with the so-called real world. And I'll also say that just because we are developing new relationships and friendships on the internet, it doesn't make it less real. Now, I've been fairly critical of technology as a whole, right? Replacing our relationships. But some newfound thought on this particular topic, stepping back from unhealthy relationships from the grid, was important for me. I didn't have a home for a period in time. For those that are new viewers, I survived that situation. I participated in a social experiment where I admitted that I was home free in Portland, Oregon, the city of my birth, where I returned to with nothing but a backpack. Not really fully aware of how popular that city was becoming, thinking I was returned to something a little bit like the city that I was leaving, i.e. wouldn't be long to get a job, apartment, get back on my feet, just unwitting, unknowing. So I was in for a rude awakening. But by having that negative relationship and feeling judged and being left in the back of my Camry of my 1985 Toyota truck, which later, with a friend at the time who was no longer alive, we built a teardrop camper for $1,200 in materials. Money earned from Craigslist jobs with this person that we went on assembling IKEA furniture. So a negative relationship turned into a positive relationship, yin yang, things change. The whole important thing turned into a negative relationship in a big way, even with the teardrop camper, setting me free to a more positive relationship. You know, it's like that Buddhist analogy of emptying your cup. Emptying your cup so we can receive. Sometimes we have to empty out the unhealthy relationships to develop a healthier relationship either with others or, first and foremost, ourself, i.e. higher self connection with spirit or the creator. Because we connect, some say, with the creator from inside the sacred heart space or consciousness from within. And that's something that a lot of religions, it's something that they forget. And by the way, I mean, it's just common for the reincarnated seers and mystics and Gnostics, the people that know, to be judged by society, to leave society because of society's antagonistic response to those that would present them with information that would actually set them free. It is like something out of the allegory of the cave with Plato. There's a lot of people that don't want to be set free or given other knowledge or information. So the history of the world is littered with individuals that have left society, that have gone their own way. Ansary, this particular author, we have the same ancestor, and he went his own way in the 10th century, in the land of East, in the conquered land of the bombed. And I think it's interesting, I've read this several times, I think it's interesting the parallels between my life and his, my life and others today, my life and others of the last century. The parallel of various souls living at the same time or different times, including that in the future, looking at reality from the observer wide lens perspective of not one prophet of prophets, but a sea of souls, sparks, if you will, a light, maybe a light that fell into this world. And they're sharing information, light teachings, which come back to them that help them take another step up this ladder of life as they live these lifetimes as an asset, assets of the Creator, the creative spark that's actually within each and every one of us as we seek to increase our soul voltage. We're really, I guess, developing a relationship with a higher world than this. And I believe in that. I believe in higher worlds. I haven't read The New Earth. I haven't read other things. I steer away from things that may seem to be recycled, New Age disinformation. Disinformation. There's a lot of that promising people are going to be taken physically in the body to a new earth like 20 years ago. And I think that there are spin-off cult-like movements that are maybe potentially based on a more spiritual interpretation of that type of thing. So, no, not being raptured to planet B within this lifetime, but maybe doing the things, I've said this for years, in this reality that lead us to that dimension and form of life. Is there other forms of life or expression that one could consider sub to this one? Other parallel human realities that are more like hells, where people are eating each other or in a more constant state of war and literally being devoured by things that are literally something out of Lord of the Rings, being in that time-space reality dimension or past period in humankind, or shall I speculate, future. So yeah, I think that this is one world of many, and we are at a particular level of consciousness. And when we reach a certain level of consciousness and we reach a certain level of communication of certain truths, and then developing those higher relationships with others, which includes stepping back from unhealthy relationships, and that could just be simply opting out from that and being powerful with a more deeper relationship with ourself, i.e. and or the Creator. And I will say there is a certain time, and maybe not forever, but a certain time in people's lives where they need to step back from the unhealthy relationships or the grid or society or urban areas. And they develop those deeper relationships with themselves through books and information and knowledge or sharing information. So, as challenged as I feel, and I'm going to read this passage in just a minute, I'm also blessed with being in a particular time-space reality where I'm just out of the age, right, where some of these technologies were very, 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 very expensive, like satellite internet. I mean, I don't know what it was 10 years ago, but certainly the technologies that we're working with now weren't around 10, 20, 30 years ago at the cost that they are now. Same thing with cameras. Same thing with other things. Same thing with the solar panels. Solar panels are far more easier to access if I'm able to afford it. And I'm just going to put it out there. I need to get another 100-watt solar panel for this winter when I'm limited on light to keep the generator use down. Some extra batteries would help as well. But if I don't have that form of materialism to improve things, I'm fine. I'm fine. But that is one goal along with a few other things. So this is something that was written in the country of the bombed. Country starts with an A. It's a trending topic right now. The current president-in-chief, right, is going to expand America's longest war into this region, this land of the bomb. But yes, this man lived about 1,000 years ago, and he lived outside of Kabul. He lived in Herat for his own safety from the empire that ruled with an iron fist. Well, maybe not as scary as you might imagine, but he was a Sufi. He was not a traditional follower, if you will, in that region. And yet, by living off the grid, right, and not megaphoning in the town center and just doing his thing, not forcing his thoughts down everybody's throat, yes, they put a warrant out for his arrest. Yes, they argued in Kabul, Afghanistan, about going after this dude, Ansary, for daring to have an independent, almost Taoist type of interpretation of reality. How some things stay the same. In another spoke of the bloodline, 1,000 years later, we look at my experience as a non-religious person, as an independent thinker, politically, religiously independent. Whoa! Totally isolated from regular society, being so independent because I don't fit into any of the boxes that society considers established. Instead, I go my own way. And if there are people that support my work or appreciate the things that I talk about and the things that I bring here, then that just shows me all the more importance of being true to myself and not conforming and expanding and bringing those people online, the commentary, the opinion, and the love from my heart to you and society, and to show you that and to vocalize that and to remind people the world does not need to be in the state that it's in right now. We can do something positive for this world. I think that's why we're here. And if you're not being reminded of that on a daily basis, on a regular basis, that we need to develop this deeper relationship with ourselves, then I'll be that person to take the time to do it, because this is a more important conversation than discussing the potential of country A doing A, B, C, D, and E to country B, and how B might do X, Y, and Z. Ending country A. I mean, there's really more things that the imagination and the brainwave states should be capable of manifesting and focusing on and seeing importance in. And the more we see their attempt to drive us in certain directions, to destabilize relationships, the more important we should see our relationships with others. and ourself. So going back 1,000 years, from the unmanifest I came and pitched my tent in the forest of material existence. I passed through mineral and vegetable kingdoms. Then my mind carried me into the animal kingdom. Having reached there, I crossed beyond it. Then in the crystal clear shell of the human heart, I nursed the drop of self into a pearl, and in association with good men, I wandered round that prayer house, and having experienced that cross beyond, I took the road that leads to God with a big G, and I became a slave at God's gate. Then the duality all disappeared, and I became absorbed in that one. You get a sense of going through different dimensions. You get a sense of different lifetimes. Lifetime as a plant, lifetime as an animal, now as a human, and some that are ethnocentric. Oh, slave at God's gate. Woo, this sounds like something radical. Giving in, letting go and letting God. Relationship. I don't have a negative relationship with the church. There's certain elements of my childhood that I think that I protested in my own way, certain belief systems. I've referred to certain things in other videos. But those aren't reasons for you, nor I, nor anyone to discount the reality of the Spirit that lives within each and every one of us. The reality that connects each and every one of us. And the non-local awareness. You think about someone and they text you. You know, I think it's interesting that a few people picked up on what it is that I'm trying to do with increasing viewer support. And seeing this eclipse, in a way, show me a sign, if you will. And not being able to meet all of my fundraising goals, but I'd say about half for the month. Raising about $100. And the benefit. And then listening with my heart, even though the comment section is down. Listening with my heart, if you will, to what is best for both myself and the audience with regards to content. And it always comes down to keeping it together. Relationships. Self-help. Off-grid commentary that's outside the box of what you normally get. Discussing some of the outside-the-box concepts that need to be discussed, even if it's controversial, even if those videos are flagged, and things of that nature. Things that need to be said. And it's been said that information is healing. That it is healing to get accurate information. And it's been healing for me to access certain lectures, webinars, you know, especially when I just unplug and I listen to what the speaker is saying for 45 minutes or an hour. And there's various lectures that I've listened to with regards to what's called spiritual warfare, identifying the negative entities in our lives, energy vampirism. And I'm often thinking about the commentary that I have that is it's really complementary to what some of these other speakers are saying. It's not that they're wrong for not bringing in certain perspectives or having certain modern day spins. It's that everybody's information is relevant. And whether it's that topic regarding spirituality, of sharing your truth, or it's another topic, we should encourage positive relationships and friendships amongst people with different views. As long as their views, however, are not tailored around attacking someone else with a verbal sword. It's one thing to have a view. We all have a right to have boundaries from others that ultimately believe that we're pieces of garbage. We don't have to allow ourselves to be the punching bag of other people when we're living in a society where people think that that's their job to go around attacking other people And I'm noticing other things. It's not really best to put it in this video, but let me, I noticed that my friend John Burrows, he's my friend that I featured on this channel about a month ago that came up, visited for camping. He lives in the Dallas, Texas area. He was posting about Christopher Cantwell and that recent rally in the South. And it was an article by Jack Hunter. And I think that people need to get out of the racism programming, which includes being angry at someone that's presenting to you an opinion or information. That means stepping back from being defensive and think that someone's attacking you because they look differently than you. I noticed that John wasn't attacked when he shared that article. And I highly doubt that Jack Hunter, a person that's been close to the Ron Paul campaign, he's a well-known author. He's not known to be a conspiracy theorist. You know? He's not known to be one of them folks. And he's known to be a somewhat respected libertarian author on the right. And here he is tearing apart those people that have gotten involved in the racism. They were acting like they were libertarians a few years ago, right? The things that people chose to be angry at me over, to disrupt our relationship over, because of their needless defensiveness, I'm seeing people go even further than where I've gone. And they just so happen to be white. And they just so happen to not be attacked and called racist against whites because they're seen as white. So people need to get out of that type of automatic anger and programming, that if you hear a truth that angers you, that person is developing that truth out of some sort of hatred themselves. The truth hurts. The truth hurts. If certain things don't apply to us, right, then they don't apply to us. And we shouldn't be defensive, right? We shouldn't be defensive if it doesn't apply to us. But there's a lot of social engineering, as I wrap things up here, to take things personally and to judge individuals for the actions of others. To put people into boxes, racial boxes, or put people into other boxes if people don't get behind a certain narrative. Put them in a box of the left, put them in the box of a right, and both of those boxes, whether you're labeled a leftist or a person on the right, to a major demographic of America, they're not going to want to have anything to do with you. But yet, when I go out, right, and I explain that I'm an independent, they really don't want to seem to have anything to do with that. But you know what? Like I keep coming back down to, if it's an ongoing social zombie apocalypse, i.e. and hell spits us out, right, like a really bad job that rejects us or a city that rejects us. I talk about Portland, maybe you have your story, and we find our way somewhere else. And we may be lonely from time to time, and it's good to talk about that. And it's good to have options, right? To listen to people talking about their story without it being an AA meeting and someone sharing a dogma with you. It's one thing to share your truth and your spiritual understanding. It's another to hear people boxed into their dogma. And let me say this. I used to hear from people that were people I knew in AA years ago. And when I criticized AA and talked about 12 years off heroin, I was called, what was it? Just like the mainstream media? Sensationalist by one of those individuals. And that's another example of negative relationships, of someone focusing on what they don't like about you and saying nothing, absolutely nothing about the good that you do. Now, when you see people that are in AA and NA, and there's a more recent example of a sociopath that I met locally, that, believe it or not, shares a local meeting. That was very cruel to myself. That's why his video was deleted off this channel. People want to learn about solar minimum and whatnot, they can learn things on their own. Just Googling. They don't need to listen to some guy on YouTube who's acting like he has the secret key. But I've seen time and time again, right, that a lot of the things that people gravitate to in our society, people like churches and AA, are dogmatic institutions that some of these people are drawn to because they feel they need that kind of structure. But in doing so, are they really developing the best relationship with themselves spiritually and with others? So, who knows what the future evolution of society could be? This whole thing called the alternative independent media is fairly new. We all know that. But could internet technologies, while we have it, right? Social media, YouTube, the ability to organize, the ability to build websites and only host those websites for $10 a year, and all these other technologies before major potential events, enter buzzword here, before those things happen, what will we do with this technology? Will we be able to build healthier relationships between people? There's a lot of people that are angry at the supremacists, but sometimes they're so angry, they're so busy being angry and defensive in a combative mindset. I don't see them building bridges with other minorities. I don't feel the love. You would think that there would be like a big love fest. Yes, let's all just have a big giant hug and sing Kumbaya amongst all the people that are feeling oppressed. But no. Most of the time they fight amongst themselves. So there are mindful relationships, folks, that we can discuss, that we can hypothesize on, that we can imagine, and we can imagine maybe those positive relationships on planet B. If we get the ticket, I got a golden ticket. If we evolve beyond, right, the soul prison, wouldn't it be awesome to report from planet B to this type of a reality? But I'm going to pause it right there. We'll come back. Let me know if you love these segments and other videos that you would like to hear me and topics that you want to hear discussed more often on this YouTube channel. For now, I'm Alex Ansary signing out for August 23rd, 2017.